Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. For Prelims 2019, we have launched an initiative, Target Prelims 2019 Question Bank. This question bank shall be available in 3 or 4 volumes. Volume 1 has been released. Volume 1 covers current affairs of the period June 2018 till August 2018. In the video description, a link has been provided. Click on the link to download the question bank. By the end of this month or maximum by the first week of April, all the volumes of the question bank shall be made available. The first question bank contains 350 plus questions with explanation, approach, related topics and URLs. And we have covered sources, the Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, the Wire.in, Scroll.in, various government websites, Economic Times, Business Standard. So those who are worried about current affairs for Prelims 2019, these documents are for your rescue. Also for your convenience, the question bank has been neatly divided into various segments. For example, polity, economy, environment and ecology, science and technology, etc., etc. Now let's get started with the analysis of today's The Hindu newspaper. Today's analysis is going to be a brief one for 2 reasons. Number 1, most of the news items are related to elections, campaigning, candidates, not relevant for your exam. And 2, there are other newspaper articles which are relevant for your exams, but they have been covered in the past already. But I'm going to provide you the reference as to when such articles have been discussed. First up, let's look at a newspaper article on page number 1 of the Delhi edition of the Hindu. Rahul Gandhi, the Congress president, is set to contest Lok Sabha elections from Wayanad in Kerala as well, in addition to Amethi in Uttar Pradesh. Now this is considered to be a strategy of the Congress party to communicate to the people of this country that Rahul Gandhi is the only prime ministerial hopeful who has the ability and potential to win from North India as well as South India. And this is considered to be a tactic to pin down Prime Minister Modi, who Congress party alleges can only win an election in the North India or the Hindi heartland in this country. But be that as it may, it is irrelevant from our examination point of view. But what is relevant is this. Representation of the People's Act of 1951. This is the law which governs the conduct of elections both to Parliament as well as state legislatures. One of the sections of Representation of the People's Act allows a candidate to contest from up to 2 constituencies. So maximum a candidate can contest elections from 2 constituencies. This can be a potential question in your prelims examination. But this is also where a reform is required in this representation of the People's Act. Let's say for example, Rahul Gandhi contests from Wayanad as well as Amethi, and he manages to win from both the constituencies. Then he has to give up 1 constituency. Because a candidate, if he wins from 2 constituencies, he cannot be the representative of both the constituencies. He has to give up 1 constituency. And let's assume he retains Amethi, if at all he wins from Amethi, and then he decides to give up Wayanad. Don't you think that you are violating the trust reposed in Rahul Gandhi by the people in Wayanad? So you are disrespecting the voters' choice. That's number 1. Number 2, there will be fresh elections in Wayanad. That means waste of public money, waste of time, waste of resources. That is why Representation of the People's Act should be amended to ensure and provide that a candidate can contest only from 1 constituency, only from 1 seat. There is already a public interest litigation filed by a BJP leader pending in the Supreme Court, wherein the petitioner pleads before the court that you should issue a directive so that a candidate can contest election from only 1 constituency, from only 1 seat. But let's wait and watch what the Supreme Court has to say on this public interest litigation. Now let's look at another news on page number 7. Supreme Court suspends eco clearance given for international airport in Goa. Let's say for example a new project is to be developed. In this case a new airport is to be developed. But before this airport construction can begin, there is something called environment impact assessment. a report is to be presented to ensure that because of this new project, it does not have an adverse impact on the environment. Because of this new project, what are the possible impacts, whether negative or adverse impacts on the environment? For that, a report is published, report is drafted called Environment Impact Assessment Report. This EIA report gave a clearance for a new airport 40 kilometers away from Panaji in Goa. But now what Supreme Court has said, Supreme Court has suspended this eco clearance, and Supreme Court has made one beautiful observation, and that is the need to uphold environmental rule of law. And this, the judiciary has said that every branch of governance and institutions across this country should strive to enforce this rule of law, this environmental rule of law. Now there is one more issue involved here. Last week, in a newspaper analysis discussion, I told you that Supreme Court has directed all the high courts that you should not question the policy of the government, because policy making is within the domain of the executive. Supreme Court or the judiciary should not question the policies of the government of India or the government of a state or the executive. In this case, the government had pleaded before the Supreme Court that the decision to have a new airport in Goa is a matter of policy, and therefore the Supreme Court should not suspend this eco clearance. But in a landmark ruling, what the Supreme Court has said, that role of decision makers is to ensure that every important facet of the environment is adequately studied and the impact of the proposed activity is carefully assessed. In this case, in the airport case, it has been our analysis that there is a failure of the due process. That means despite the fact that this is a policy decision of the executive, we are still striking down this policy decision because we have to uphold the environmental rule of law. This judgment is going to have far-reaching consequences on our environmental laws. So we'll have to wait and watch what the future holds so far as this environmental rule of law is concerned. Now let us look at some of the editorials and columns from today's newspaper, beginning with Seeking the New Frontier, written by Rakesh Sood. And this is about the ASAT test that India had conducted on 27th March. This we have discussed in detail in our 28th March The Hindu newspaper analysis. But what this newspaper column talks about, it says that India has not violated any norm by conducting this test, because as of now there is no international treaty which prohibits the testing or the development of these ASATs. Now what India had done, India had carried out an anti-satellite test or ASAT test. A missile was used, an interceptor missile, and this missile targeted a satellite, and this satellite was in the LEO, lower Earth orbit. That means at an altitude of around 300 kilometer. And using this missile, this satellite was broken down into pieces. Now as of now, there are only 4 countries which have got this capability: United States, the Russia, the China, and now India. These are the 4 countries which have got this capability. It is believed that France as well as Israel, they have also tested this capability, but they have not publicly declared that they have this capability. This newspaper column raises one concern, that over a period of time, our space can be used for weaponization. And that is why there is a need to have a global regulatory regime. There should be a declaration of a political commitment by all the countries that they will not be the first country to place weapons in the space, because space should not be used for weaponization. But it is likely that United States will not allow such an international treaty, because United States might perceive such a convention or such a treaty as a restraint on the technological advances that United States has made in the space technology. That is what you need to understand from this column. Now let's look at an editorial on page number 8, Murky Swamp. After the death of Goa Chief Minister Manohar Parrikar, a new Chief Minister, Mr. Pramod Sawant, was sworn in by the Goa governor. A political party, MGP, It had 3 MLAs, and this political party decided to support the BJP government in Goa. Now in a midnight coup, what happened? 2 of these MLAs, what they decided to merge with BJP. Now does anti-defection law come into picture? No, because anti-defection law, it tries to prevent individual defections. But so far as group defections is concerned, it allows group defections. That means if 2/3 of the members belonging to a political party, they decide to merge with another political party, or they decide to float a different political party, this is something which is allowed, and under anti-defection law, these 2/3 members of that political party will not be disqualified from the house, whether it is parliament or it is state legislative assembly. But although this editorial does not talk about it, but let us raise a very important issue here. If 2/3 merger and split is allowed, it might not affect a big political party with 40 MPs, 50 MPs, 60 MPs, but it is certainly going to impact smaller political parties. And in today's polity, where in smaller states such as Goa, in northeastern state, in Jammu and Kashmir, for example, in these smaller states, there will be smaller parties, and it will be very easy for a big party to swallow these smaller parties through bribe, through coercion, and by using institutions such as CBI, Enforcement Directorate, so on and so forth. That is why there is a need to urgently reform anti-defection law. Now, how can anti-defection law be reformed in this case? Yes, 2/3 merger and split should be allowed. Because if 2/3 members of a political party, they feel suffocated with the leadership, these 2/3 people should be allowed to move away from that political party, join a different political party, or float a different political party. But such a decision cannot be taken only by legislators. Because here in MGP case, 2 MLAs, they have decided to merge with BJP, and anti-defection law does not apply. What my recommendation is that such a decision should be ratified by 2/3 members of that political party's organization as well. Because there are 2 wings of a political party. There is an organizational wing and there is a legislative wing as well. 2/3 of the members of the legislative wing, 2/3 of the members of the organizational wing, which includes their general secretaries, their office bearers, they should support this decision that we want to merge with a different political party, or we want to create a different political party. That is going to be the biggest reform, and this Aya Ram, Gaya Ram menace that is plaguing our electoral politics will be reformed to a large extent. That is what you need to understand from this newspaper editorial. There is another column on page number 8, the arrogance of the ignorant. This is in relation to the February 13th Supreme Court ruling, wherein Supreme Court ruled that 1.12 million households, they are to be ejected from the forest in 17 states. And this relates to the Forest Rights Act. And this Forest Rights Act we have discussed in detail on 23rd of February 2019 in the Hindu newspaper analysis. So if you have not watched that newspaper analysis, please go through that and you will be in a position to understand what this issue is all about. Now let's look at another column on page number 9. There are 2 schools of thought in relation to the question on whether India should talk to Pakistan or not. One school of thought says talks and terror cannot go together. Unless and until Pakistan dismantles the entire terror infrastructure on its soil, there is no point talking to Pakistan. But there is another school of thought which believes that talks with Pakistan should not only be uninterrupted, but it also should be uninterruptible. Why? They say whenever India and Pakistan, they talk to each other, suddenly there is a bomb blast. Suddenly there is a terror attack. Why? Because the terrorists, they don't want a peaceful negotiation between India and Pakistan. And whenever there is a bomb blast, there is a terror strike, India calls off talks with Pakistan. And ultimately, who is the winner? The winner is the Pakistani deep state, which includes Pakistani army, which includes the ISI, which includes the state or non-state actors within the Pakistan who do not want peaceful relations with India. So ultimately, if the talks are called off, it is for the benefit for these deep state actors. It is argued that it is the Pakistani army which does not want peaceful relation with India. And there are few reasons for that. Reason number one, Pakistani army has faced the brunt of Indian military. It was the 1971 war between India and Pakistan which resulted in the emergence of Bangladesh as a new political entity. So Pakistan as a political unit was divided into two, split into two by the Indian military. That is why Pakistani army, they have animosity towards the Indian state. That is one reason. Reason number two is Pakistani army takes away a major chunk of the Pakistani budget. And they justify it on the grounds, they convince the Pakistani people that we have an adversary in the form of India, and India wants to split Pakistan, India wants to eat away Pakistan. That is why we have to focus on our defense. That is why more and more budgetary allocation should be made available to the Pakistani army so that the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Pakistan is kept intact. These are the two reasons why Pakistani army does not want peaceful relation with India. And now this newspaper column says Imran Khan is India's best bet in years to ensure a durable peace with Pakistan, including on the Kashmir issue. Why? Pakistani army has over a period of time ensured that the civilian government, the Pakistani Prime Minister, should be the puppet of Pakistani army. And if you're not a puppet of the Pakistani army, you will be dethroned. Your government will be ousted. That's what happened with Nawaz Sharif multiple times. This column says there are two reasons why Imran Khan is the best bet for India. Number one, he is very popular. Even at his age, he is considered to be a youth icon in Pakistan, where millions of the young people in Pakistan look up to Imran Khan. So it will be very difficult for army to remote control Pakistani Prime Minister. Second, he is also perceived to be non-corrupt. Unlike his immediate predecessors such as the Zardaris or the Nawaz Sharifs, Imran Khan is considered to be non-corrupt. These two traits of Imran Khan are the reasons why Imran Khan is the best bet for India in recent years to ensure a durable peace in the Indian subcontinent. That is what you need to understand from this newspaper column. Now let's look at some of the prelims based question. Arachnology is the scientific study of spiders and related species. What is the context? Experts say spider research is yet to pick up pace in India. Which of the following statements about court-martial are correct? The order of court-martial can be challenged in the Supreme Court, correct? Both the president and governor can pardon, reprieve or commute in respect to punishment or sentence by court-martial. This statement is incorrect because governor does not have that power, the president has. A special leave petition can be filed in the Supreme Court against the order of court-martial. This statement is incorrect because a special leave petition under Article 136 of the Indian Constitution cannot be filed in the Supreme Court against the order of court-martial. So which of the above quotes are correct? Only one is correct. This is the context. Major Gogoi to face seniority loss. Major Gogoi has been in the news for two reasons. Number one, in by-elections to Srinagar Lok Sabha constituency, he tied a voter to the front of a jeep to prevent people from stone pelting. Second, he was seen with a local woman in a Srinagar hotel, and it was on this ground that a court-martial proceedings were initiated against him, and it has been recommended that his seniority should be reduced after a court-martial. Map-based question. Which of the following country is referred to in the above statements? It is a landlocked country in Central Europe. It is bordered by Poland to the north, Ukraine to the east and Hungary to the south. This country has elected its first woman president recently. We're talking about Slovakia. This is the explanation. This is Slovakia, a landlocked country, Poland, Ukraine, Hungary. Ukraine is also in the news. That is why this map-based question can be a potential question in your prelims exam. And this is the context. Slovaks elect first women president. Previous year's prelims-based question 2018 with reference to Indian history. Who among the following is a future Buddha yet to come to save the world? Maitreya. That is it from our newspaper analysis today. Thank you for being with us. Have a great day.